Hey everyone, this is Bill MacDonald, and it's time for some common sense math, using some common sense and your senses to help you and your students solve some very difficult problems. This problem was from the 5th grade. It was the most difficult question on the spring test from this past year because it's a readiness standard. It would be a supporting standard for 6th grade. So this one will be specifically for all you 5th and 6th grade teachers. But if you are working with 4th graders who have a hard time understanding mixed numbers, which is a whole number and a fraction, a proper fraction, and regular fractions, and what to do when the denominator of those fractions is different, then this question will be for you. So when I checked it, there were like 5 steps that your students had to solve in order to get it correct. And it only got 41% correct in Texas. There were 2 pretty big distractors because many students don't know how to bring a mixed number with a fraction and then figure out how to make sure we have a common denominator so that we can find the sum or the difference, the sum plus add who, or the difference subtract minus who of those 2 fractions. So let me show you the problem, sharing my screen with my new really nice document camera that one of you gave to me. It's going to be number 10. So if you haven't already printed out the 5th grade math test, go to the STAR resources page on the Texas Education Agency website, then click release test questions, and you'll see spring 5th grade and math with the questions and the answer key. And in a separate section, you'll see the itemized analysis report. And that's what I had to do, a combination of the item analysis report so I can know which ones gave your students trouble. And I had to look at the regular answer key to find out whether the question was readiness or supporting. So let's go ahead and show you the short version of rules for if you have kids who struggle. Just read the question and the problem. Underline or understand anything that's going to help you solve it. Label it in the way that you've been taught. In the same way that a can has a label to show you what's inside, a student must label to show his teacher, her teacher, what's inside their little heads so that they can help them when they make a mistake. So I highly suggest that you get some cans, intentionally remove the labels and put them on a shelf in your classroom somewhere, some with labels and some without, and let them know that the ones who don't label, who don't mark their test the way that you've been asking, are going to lose points even if they get the question correct. Okay, so once we label, we'll go ahead and execute our strategies and eliminate the 3 wrong answers and select the correct answer in both the book, the Scantron, or if it's online, everything that you see here that are strategies that are on paper, we would do that with our computer. When you run out of space for doing strategies, your kids can go back to other parts of the test that they've already finished and remove those from what I understood so they can continue to do strategies as you're walking around monitoring on practice tests. So I suggest we read the question. How many gallons, how many is a number, of fruit punch did Ms. Fitzgerald have left? how much left you subtract. Keep that in mind. We've got to find out how much we had then and how many we got rid of to find out how much is left. So I'll say that again. How much left you subtract. So we know we're going to have to subtract somewhere. So let's look at the problem now. And when your kids ask, Miss, which one is the question? You'll say the one with the question mark. Which one is the problem? The one with the period or the ones with the period. Miss Fitzgerald had 2 and 1/4 gallons of fruit punch. That's how much she started out with. She served 3/8 of a gallon of the fruit punch to her family at lunch. And so if you saw my background, I tried to imagine myself in a kitchen. So that's why our virtual background today is a kitchen, because we want to serve punch, especially fruit punch, in the kitchen, so we don't get it on our carpets in our living rooms or our bedrooms or anywhere else. So when you're serving some of the fruit punch, it means you're losing some of the total. So that's why they asked that question, how much left? So if we have 2 and 1/4, I want to call this strategy the Texas mixed combo. TX for Texas, mixed because it's a mixed number, and a combo because you have to do 2 things. Okay, so if you place the letters T on the top part of the fraction and the letter X on the bottom, it's going to change from letters to operations. Addition on the top, multiplication on the bottom. So your students just have to remember, step 1, I've got to figure out, I need to get this mixed number to be a fraction. Okay, so let's start at the bottom. Let's start at the foundation. 4 times 2 is 8, plus the 1 that you carried, that you have on top, is 9. One more part of a 4th. So 9, and then the bottom number stays the same. So 9/4 is my fraction. So if we have horse fights in the water and you have a 4-year-old in the water trying to carry a 9-year-old, I'm going to call that an improper fraction, because it would be improper for that child to be trying to hold up a child who's probably 2 or 3 times bigger than him. So that's an improper fraction. But the problem with this improper fraction is it doesn't have the same denominator. If we call this the first name, we'll call that the last name. So the numerator is not as important as the denominator. So since we're supposed to find out how much is left, how much left you subtract, what we can do is whatever you do to one side of the fraction, you do to the other side, and it'll still have the same value. So the product of 9 and 2 is 18. The product of 4 and 2 is 8. So our new improper fraction is 18/8. So now I have the same denominator, the same last name. And so if I subtract 3/8 from 18/8, I get 15/8. Or if I say 18/8 minus 3/8, I get 15/8. The problem is that's not an answer choice. So I'm going to do a step that I call the M.A.S.R.E.D that you've seen in some of the other problems. M.A.S.R.E.D because I failed division again. We're going to multiply something and something again until we get an answer that's equal to the number that we're trying to get to the product or more. Once we find that answer, we'll subtract so that we can get a remainder, and then we'll either drop or we're done. So for those of you who have the mathematics posters, you'll find this on page 37. And when you look at the opposite side, page 38, it allows you to see how to do M.A.S.R.E.D with 1-digit quotients. And whenever you have to do the steps, how to do it with 2-digit quotients, so that your students will be able to figure out how to solve with 2-digit quotients like you see there. Okay, so that'll be pages 37 and 38 of your mathematics posters, for those of you who have them. So what we're going to have to do is review a little bit about some things on the same place that has my rules and my place value chart. I have a keywords operation reminder. So we're talking about fractions. So I see right there, it says a mixed number is a whole number and a fraction. That's what we had. Okay. Then we changed it to an improper fraction by doing the Texas mixed combo. Sounds like something you'd eat at a restaurant. When you do it correctly, the larger number will be on the top. In a proper fraction, like the other number, the larger number would be on the bottom. And then once you have the same denominator, we would subtract them. Okay. How do you change a fraction to a decimal? You take the numerator and divide it by the denominator. Or how do you take a fraction and get a mixed number? When you subtract, which is what we'll be doing in a moment, we will pretty much do the same thing with divide. All right. So I'm going to show you on the place value chart exactly what you could do. This is laminated, so I'm using a dry erase marker this time, and we called it the Texas mixed combo. The TX for addition and multiplication, and it said that they had something. That's what they started out with. 2 is our whole number, fraction is 1/4, so 2 and, see a little decimal there, 1/4 of a gallon. And we serve 3/8, but we want to remember, once we've done our multiplication, 2 times 4 plus 1 is 8, plus 1 is 9/4. When we multiply both sides by 2, we get that 18/8. So if we served 3 of the 8s to the family, and when we have the same last name in the denominator, we're like a family. So you can add or subtract at this point. 18 take away 3 is 15/8. And so here's the step where if kids made it this far, they struggled because they did not know how to do a conversion of an improper fraction to a mixed number, because you'll see 15/8 is not one of the choices on the letters. So the clock method is going to use M.A.S.R.E.D. You take the dividend, the number on the top, and put it in. Dividend goes in, the divisor goes out. And we're going to multiply something by 8 until we get an answer that is our number that we're looking for or higher. So we're going to keep going until we get to 15 or higher. 8 times 0 is 0. What I multiplied, I put it on top. My answer, I put it on the bottom. 8 times 1 is 8. Sorry that my finger went through that. 1 on the top, 8 on the bottom. And I haven't passed the 15 yet or gotten to it. So I keep going. 8 times 2 is 16. So that's too many. I can't use 2 8s. I can only use 1. So we'll go back here, and what's on top goes on the top, the 1. And what's on the bottom when we multiplied the answer goes on the bottom. Then we do our subtraction. 15 take away 8 is 7. So 1 remainder 7. Well, some kid, that means we're either going to be dropping or we're done, and there's nothing left to drop, so we are done. And so what I suggest you do is teach your kids the clock method. that if you look at the top, you'll see a 1. We'll call that 12 o'clock. I wrote the word and at 3 o'clock. I circled the 7 at 6 o'clock and the 8 at 9 o'clock. So if I say these clockwise from the top going around, you'll get the answer of what 15/8 is when you have it as a mixed number. 1 and 7/8. So when we look at our answer choices, is it there? Yes, 1 and 7/8. So that's one whole number and 7/8 of the other, another whole number. That means you divide something into 8 parts, the next gallon, and you have 7 of them when you've taken away 3/8 from 2 and 1/4. So the answer we're going to select is letter D. The answers we're going to eliminate are H, 1.5 would be the same as 1 and 5/8. That's not the same. That's less than. 1 and 6/8 is not the same as 1 and 7/8. And 2 and 1/3 doesn't even convert to 8ths. And we know that it's not the answer because we know that we only have one whole number left. So it would have to have been one of these 3. And if we're going to stay with the common denominator, another elimination would be either G or J. And so if your kids are not good at subtraction, they might have said 15 minus 9 for whatever reason equals 6. And if they're just not good with subtraction, they wouldn't come out with the right answer. So that's how I would solve a problem that has a combination, a Texas mixed combo of a whole number and a fraction, and then having to subtract what you take away, a proper fraction, once the denominators are the same, and then do what I call the clock method. When you do the division, the dividend, but divided by the divisor, the improper fraction inside the box, divided by the denominator, and you get the answer. So please do me a favor, share or tag your 4th, 5th, and 6th grade math teacher friends. I'm sure they would benefit because I've noticed that every single year students struggle heavily when it comes to mixed fractions, improper fractions, regular fractions, and adding and subtracting them, especially when we have the situation that we had on this one where the denominators are different and you have to do something to get them the same before you continue. So go ahead and click like on my YouTube page, please. Subscribe if you're not already doing so. If you have a friend that does not have Facebook, while you're in the YouTube page, which we're in right now, if you're watching this, go ahead and click on the link. If you just kind of copy the entire search engine page that shows you that you're at, and you can click share and it'll let you copy the link, and then you can send that as an email to one of your friends. Go ahead and also click like on Facebook or tag any of your math teacher friends or share the video. This was the #1 problem in 5th grade. It was the lowest scoring at 41%. Just as a reminder, it's Readiness, category number 2, and it was student expectation 5.3K. And for those of you outside of Texas or the United States, it's how to subtract mixed numbers and proper fractions when they have a different denominator. So there's basically 5 steps that I showed you in this problem. Goodbye, good luck, and God bless.